This is Bill Johnson, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. Feed your head.
I love this. When either of you talk, your name things on my PC flash.
Yes.
So I can see when you're talking.
Uh-huh. It's very good, especially when we're doing the live show. And otherwise you might get us confused. You're like, I don't know if that's Neil or Annabelle talking.
Stop
Neil
it.
is Flash things like
Sarcasm.
It's probably been doing that for ages. You're probably kind of well used to that. I've never noticed it before.
Well, it
How long
is.
have you been using Skype?
Oh, years since it was invented.
It's a learning experience for everyone today. When do you guys want to get going?
All right.
Good to go?
Yeah. Hold on. Can I just reply to an email here?
No.
Well, it's actually
Go ahead. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm just going to go and make some bagels.
all right. Well, I hope for all of us, not just for you.
Yeah. You can have some e-bagels. No, I'm not.
All right.
You reply to your email.
No, it's actually relevant to Hellraiser.
I figured it would probably be something time sensitive. He's not always this rude. I thought of this new routine of bringing jelly babies to every convention. And it would be like the secret nod.
I heard you talking about jelly babies with Nick. I listened to Nick. I was saying to Neil, I listened to Nick's interview earlier. Yeah, the trouble with jelly babies at a horror convention is the actors are also badly behaved. That there'd be a jelly baby fights.
That sounds fantastic. I think that would be great.
Well, at least they wouldn't hurt. There was one of the conventions I was at, and there was one of the horror icons. I can't remember his name. He's great fun. He's had his own reality TV show, I believe.
Huh.
He was great fun. But anyway, we kept getting. Are you recording any of this? You ought to record this.
That's what I've been saying. Are you recording?
I am recording, but if you want to
Good.
actually start an interview and then
we
say
can
this.
just talk.
All right.
Let's talk. We can always do the introduction at the end.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
If you're going to edit. Make your life really difficult. A convention, and Barbie and I were sitting together, and we kept looking at each other and thinking, what's that awful smell? This is a terrible smell. And it was like a dog. Somebody had trodden in dog dirt. And we couldn't work out what it was. Oh, I wish I could remember the actor's name. Anyway, it turned out this American actor he had this stuff called pumper dump spray, industrial strength. No, military strength. And it was just noxious. And if any of our lines started kind of building up at the table, he kind of wander over and just subtly spray this stuff. And funnily enough, our lines would dissipate and his lines would suddenly grow. So being British, I wondered if I could find something to compete with this. But being British, what I found was 3 different sprays. I've got them here. And with cinnamon, and there's fresh coffee, and there's freshly baked bread. And I wondered if I could do the opposite. I wondered if I could spray freshly. It's like croissant. Yeah, really nice.
So people
That's
come over.
That's a good idea. Then people will. Where is that bread?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, their noses will just kind of bring them to me. And if you do the fresh bread and the cinnamon, you've got Cinnabon. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty good. Oh. And the coffee's like sweet coffee too. It's very nice. Yeah. I'm going to spray one here actually.
And then you'd be like, would you like an autograph? Or some fresh baked goods?
Yeah.
If you were selling that, I would buy it.
If
I was there at that, I think you should sell those signed. You should work out a deal with the company. This is the angle Neil and I are going for, is to sell things that we find amusing and maybe be sponsored.
Exactly.
So you could do scratch and sniff 10x8 photographs.
That would be fantastic.
Although I'm not sure.
Sprayed them a little bit.
I've been dying for a scratch and sniff Butterball for a long time.
I don't think it would smell of freshly baked croissant. I think it would be pretty rank.
Oh.
Yeah, it would be like pump dump. That's my thought.
It would be like death, a dead body, or that rat that kind of gets stirred on the floorboards and you don't know it's there until you can smell it.
Oh yeah.
It would be that smell.
Wouldn't it be more comical though if it did smell like a nice freshly baked croissant?
Well, hey, Butterball's a big guy, Maybe it should be chocolate and Cinnabon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cinnabon. Sorry.
I am now imagining the Cenobites hanging out
in
the mall, going out for Cinnabon.
Do you think we could get sponsorship?
With Cinnabon? I
Maybe
believe
Cinnabon.
so.
I say try. It never hurts to ask. Neil knows.
Yeah,
Neil's actually has a deal with McGillicuddy's.
yeah, Dr. McGillicuddy's
The
alcohol.
alcohol
Mhm.
people.
Okay.
They're
Cool.
a big company. they send him a birthday cake.
That's actually Patron.
It's like a
That's
small
tequila.
little personal size birthday cake.
Yeah, that's a tequila company. Get,
Okay.
Get the alcohol straight.
Well, that's
here.
another
There's a
one.
few of them, yes.
There is a company that does skulls full of vodka. I
Yes,
think.
there are. Uh-huh.
Oh,
I did look at buying some of those and seeing if I could kind of sell them on the tables, but they cost a fortune.
those are the ones I think Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
That's his company.
I'm
He-
thinking of a Cinnabon now, and you could stick toothpicks all over it, so it's kind of like the pinhead Cinnabon.
That's genius.
You see, for their Halloween campaign, they should get us in.
I agreed.
Absolutely.
But I think maybe they wouldn't want Butterball because, it might be implying that their products would help you put weight on, and they would be maybe
I think
sensitive about
people
that.
are aware.
I think that's
I don't think it's going to be a shock.
I think
It's
that's
like advertising for McDonald's. You're safe.
I think that's the most appetizing name, though. Like, get the new Butterball.
Maybe
Only
Butterball
it's
could clean up
Cinnabon.
his act once he starts eating Cinnabon products. He'll still be big, but he can spruce it up a little bit.
So
Yeah, true.
would they
Maybe
call,
they could morph him down to actually me, who's pretty skinny, to be honest.
would they call
Because
this
you
line?
have an active lifestyle. You're now happy because you're Cinnabon, and
Would
you
they
have
call
an
this
active
line?
lifestyle now.
Would they call this line the Cinnabites?
Oh my God! That is genius.
Yeah, perfect.
Mhm.
I'll give you a cut.
No, I
Why,
appreciate that.
thank you, seriously.
I'm sure that
Credit is-
the mail will be coming in. I'm sure they're listening.
I'm ready to contact them on your behalf. This is
Just send them the interview.
We don't have them over here. Actually, we don't have Cinnabon in the UK. That's I was first aware of them in an airport somewhere in the States, and the whole airport just smelled of this delicious sugary cinnamon. And I thought, where's that coming from? And so I bought one, but I couldn't eat a whole one. It was a little too sweet for
it's intense.
British tastes. It is intense, yeah.
This is the station at decapitation. WithoutYourHead.com. I'm Nasty Neil,
And I'm Annabelle Lecter.
and we are joined by Simon Bamford.
Hello. Now, I did a little bit of research. Obviously, I kind of understood that without your head means without your prosthetics. Is that correct?
It could mean what? It's like a work of art. It can mean anything that you want it to mean.
But I did a bit of research this morning, and I was looking at what else without your head could mean.
Mm.
And, of course, John Wayne Bobbitt came in pretty early on in my research, although it was him I was looking for with Google. But he's actually quite way down now because, let me have a look, there's a man in Colombia had it amputated recently after taking too much Viagra.
Oh,
Evidently,
wow.
he OD'd on Viagra, and they could do nothing. That was last year, and they had to cut it off.
Yeah, so you just got like the hedge clippers out, and it's like, wow.
I don't know.
You will not believe this, but last night I stumbled circuitously across
Speaking
this
of
thing
penises
called
being
Food
amputated.
Celebrities. And Food Celebrities takes celebrity names and combines them with different foods. And truly, this just happened last night that I found this, and this morning I was scanning it because they're puns, and I find them hilarious.
Uh-huh.
John Wayne Kebabit. And there's a picture of him. It's some magazine picture where I will post it for everybody in the world to see, and I will send it your way because it's incredible and amazing timing.
Uh-huh.
But evidently, there was a man in China also who lost his appendage twice. Twice.
How did it get shorter and then it happened again?
Well, evidently, he asked his wife for a divorce, and assuming that her husband was having an extramarital activity, she drugged him and cut off his dick and flushed it down the toilet. They managed to retrieve it and reattach it. Evidently, this doesn't sound like it really possibly could happen, but it is the internet. and he assumed that she'd be locked away, but she wasn't. And so a while later, she got hold of him again, and she drugged his milk, and she cut it off again.
I don't think I would share milk with someone who cut my penis off.
Yeah, so why were they still in contact with each other? I don't...
I don't know.
Was she kind of sneaking around stalking him and found milk and just poured it in there? Like, bam.
Let bygones be bygones, and, they became buddies again.
I don't know, but the more research I did, the more I realised that a lot of people had lost their dicks and were without their heads. So I decided that maybe it was a bit of a sensitive issue and I shouldn't be making a mockery of it too much. But there you go. I've done it now.
Well, I am glad that your research into Without Your Head brought you into...
You stayed. That you continued to do the interview.
Well, when I started talking to Simon, he said he actually listened to Nicholas's interview last week, and I assumed he was just going to say, so I've canceled for tonight. But
But just before we move on, I have a personal story about Without Your Head.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say something about your dick getting cut off, perhaps.
Well, yeah, it's along those lines.
Oh, what? Oh my God. Okay, I'm ready for this story.
And it should hopefully segue neatly into Hellraiser as well for us. But when I was... All right, go ahead if you want to really share this. When I was about 18, I was staying at my agent's flat in London, and I was making love, not with my agent, I hasten to add. And I had, oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this, I had the most amazing orgasm, just incredible orgasm. And I thought, wow, that was good. What was that all about? And I woke up the next morning in the agent's sofa bed and threw back the covers, and the whole of the bed was covered in blood.
Oh my God.
Just covered in blood. And I'd split my urethra. Is that right? But I didn't know I'd done it until the next morning. So the orgasm was actually not just a normal orgasm. It was literally blood spurting everywhere.
Wow.
And wow. I listening to your interview with Nick, you were talking about pleasure through pain.
Mm-hmm.
I personally am not a great lover of sadomasochism. Certainly not anything I would do. But having experienced that experience,
you're gonna go for it again.
No. My
it's
urethra
now
is
become a
firmly
regular
attached.
practice of yours.
No.
No paraphilia of having your penis bleed during sex.
Maybe they'll put it in the remake.
There we go.
Uh-huh.
It's a good angle. Why not?
It could be one of the backstories for Butterball.
Yeah.
And then he went to Cinnabon to drown his troubles.
Yes. He took some of the nice cream off the top and just rubbed it in.
Yeah, well, they could add that into the Cinnabon too. They make it like some strawberry jam or
a special edition Cinnabon.
Yeah, it's like
they color the
cherry
that spread.
Mm-hmm.
So it's red. Oh my!
Jelly, yeah.
They could put it in the shape of like a
an eclair.
Yeah, an eclair.
An eclair filled with strawberry jam.
Yeah, each one has a little bit of my DNA.
I think we've just lost the Cinnabon connection.
We might have done, yeah.
You can just send them an excerpt.
I'm all about it, but I don't know what to ask now. I think that wraps up the interview. I don't know how to follow that.
Yeah. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I don't think you can really beat that story. But we will carry on about serious adult things.
Yes, that is what we
I'm
do
rubbish
here.
about talking about them.
We'll keep that part. Just
Okay, I've never
body-
really grown up, Annabelle. I'm still a kid.
Well,
That's good.
you will fit in
Just put that in once in a while. It's sprinkle of adult amongst talking about penis.
Yeah.
Now, anything said, I'm just tying in with some type of Cinnabon product. A little sprinkle of adulthood, and I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, so I don't know if everyone knows this, but like you had known Clive Barker for a while before making Hellraiser.
I had, yeah. I was doing a production at drama school of King Lear, and I was playing the fool, typecast as ever. And actually, I was I was playing the fool. It was during the punk era, so it was in the 1980s, and I was a punk. I had a Mohican, and they just released this new product called Crazy Color, which I used to sell on Camden Market, which could dye your hair in these vibrant colors. So I had
Right up my alley.
bright aubergine hair on the Mohican, and I think I had bright yellow canary hair at the sides where it was all shaved. And they cast me as the fool in King Lear, which kind of worked actually for that. It didn't really work for the Ibsen that we did afterwards, where I had to play an 80-year-old man. But I got very bad reviews from my teachers there. But Clive came to see. Clive lived near Mount View Theatre School in North London, and he ran a fringe theatre company. He'd moved down from Liverpool with Doug Bradley, and had joined up with the director Oliver Parker. At the time, they were all fringe actors and a little fringe theatre company. And Clive liked what I was doing in King Lear and asked if I wanted to meet him. So we met up, and then he said, when you graduate, I'd like you to join the company. So, and that was 1981, I think. So, yeah, I joined the dog company, and we toured Frankenstein in Love, one of Clive's plays. Clive was an actor as well before. Just about the time I met him, he gave up the acting, decided he was going to concentrate on the writing and the directing. And he wrote Frankenstein in Love, which, strangely enough, had a skinned man in it, which Ollie Parker played. So a lot of the kind of the early themes of horror and love and passion were all there. And we did a play called Paradise Street, and another one I can't remember the name of. And we toured to the Edinburgh Festival. We went over to the Netherlands. He did a lot of work at the Cockpit Theatre. Clive actually wrote me a piece, which was fantastic. He wrote me a play just for me called Crazy Face. But sadly, after touring with the dog company for about 2 years, we all decided it was great, but it was profit share, and we needed to earn a living. It was all very well doing this fantastic work, but we needed to earn money as well. So we disbanded, and after we disbanded, Clive wrote Crazy Face for me, and I had just got a paid job, so I couldn't do it, which is one of my many regrets in life. And I've never seen it either. But lovely of him to do it, I'm right. And at the same time, he wrote the Books of Blood, which have been being made into films all over the place at the moment. In fact, it was announced yesterday. Did you see that Raven Banner Entertainment are going to make Jacqueline S?
No.
Did you read that? It was in Variety, I believe, with Jovanka Vukovic directing it, and Lena Headley in the title role.
Excellent.
So yeah, very exciting, very exciting. I've lost my thread. I do this. I did warn Neil. Oh yeah, Clive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and he the Books of Blood. Have you read the Books of Blood at all?
I have not.
The very first story. They're all short stories, but the very first story in the first book is about this character called Simon McNeill, and he is a fraud who pretends that he can talk with the spirits. And there's a company of researchers who have found this house where horrible things are happening. And it seems that it's a highway. It's a crossroads between the living and the dead. So they get in this guy called Simon McNeil to try and see if he can make contact with the spirits. The spirits realize that there's a fraud there, and so overnight they come down and they discover Simon McNeil, and every section of his skin has a tiny little story on it. Even his eyeball has one story kind of carved in his blood. And Clive based the character of Simon McNeil on me. He tells me.
I was going to ask about that. That seems sort of insulting.
Yeah, I know. I have thought of that over the years, but I mean, I think Clive takes bits of people here and there, bits of your character. I don't think Clive sees me as a fraud. Maybe intellectually, he sees me as a fraud. I must admit, I did find a lot of the stuff at the dog company was very highbrow. And I wrote on one of my CVs on my website that I managed to fit in by looking constipated and saying my lines as quickly as possible, and nobody seemed to notice. And there is an element of truth there. But very, very kindly, in my first edition, First Books of Blood, Clive signed it to Simon the McNeil boy par excellence. But he didn't mean it to be insulting. No. We're very fond of each other, and we still keep in contact even after all this time, which is rare and lovely. But yeah, it's good. He's a lovely man.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was going to say it's really interesting that you mentioned sort of feeling like you were sort of just hanging out with this in crowd of people, or these people that maybe you felt were out of your league in a way, because that's something that Nicholas was saying as well, that he was around Clive and I can't remember his name, but there was a few people around this group, and he felt like I am in the presence of greatness.
Yeah,
and
I think it's
fantastic.
It's very difficult with Clive not to feel that, to be honest. You know, he's a genius, and you know that you're in the presence of genius. Mm-hmm. And I suppose I assumed that everybody around him was up there too. I'm not sure they particularly.
Neil Gaiman was the other person.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I know he was around, but I didn't really know Neil at the time. There were so many people around. It was a little bit like the factory. I always think of it, of Andy Warhol's factory.
Yep.
And Clive still has that vibe going on in his studios in Los Angeles. There's always people there painting. He always encourages people to explore every aspect of their artistic side, and not to care if it doesn't work or if it's not working. If you're an actor, he'll encourage you to write and to paint and to make music. I know one of his ambitions was to try and learn all about making music as well, but you can only have so many irons in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough time in the day.
No, sadly that's true.
So,
no, he's wonderful to meet, and he's inspiring, but at the same time he's not condescending. He's very warm. He's genuine as a writer. He's genuinely interested in everybody he meets, because he knows he can mentally take notes on that person, and he'll talk very genuinely to you and try and get as much information about your life and anything unusual that you might have done, so that he can make a note for characters references later on.
So, how did you guys go from that to later on making Hellraiser? Did you guys remain friends, or?
Yeah, I didn't see him for a while. I got a lot of. I was quite successful in theatre for the 2 years after we finished. We disbanded the dog company. So I was off doing this, that, and the other, and I just rang him out of the blue to see what he was up to, just as a friend, really. And he just had 2 screenplays made into movies, which he didn't direct, and they weren't particularly good. I know Rawhead Rex was one of them, and I can't remember the name of the other one. So he persuaded the production team to let him write and direct the 3rd one, which turned out to be Hellraiser and the Hellbound Heart. And it was just at that time that, thankfully, I rang him, and he said, "Oh, hi, Si, I'm about to make a movie. Do you want to play a monster?" And of course, I just said, "Yeah."
Wow.
Because I'm thinking, it'll just be, because we worked together on very low budget, fringe off Broadway stuff. So I wasn't expecting it to be anything like it was until we went down to Pinewood, and they started doing all the makeup tests, and you saw kind of the quality of the artists, the prosthetic artists, and the creations that they were making. And they were also totally inspired by Clive, because every time they create something, he'd kind of push them to go a little bit further and see, how we could develop them this way, and ways you'd never ever dream of unless you were Clive Barker. Or inspiring. The studios of Image Animation was the company with Bob Keane at the helm. Wonderful places to be. Little did I know what a nightmare it would actually end up being, filming the bloody thing. But yeah, and it was only a small budget. I think the budget originally was £300,000. It got up to $1 million once the studios over in the States saw the rushes and realised that they got something special. But it was a very low budget film to start with.
Now, when he said he wanted you to play a monster, did he already tell you which particular Cenobite you'd play, or?
No.
Do you think he picked that one specifically for you?
I don't know. I don't know. And certainly by the time we got to all he said to me was there might be a little bit of makeup involved. Bastard. So
I can imagine that was not a light suit.
Actually, the suit wasn't too bad. It was on like a yoke over my shoulders, so it was kind of hanging away from my body, because I was very skinny when I was 25 when we were making it. So it wasn't too bad. It was just the head was awful, because it was 2 inches thick of foam latex with no eye holes, no ear holes, no nose hole. And then just when you thought that wasn't bearable enough, then they glued false dentures on top of your own teeth, and then said act. and I've told the story before, but the first time on set in the makeup in the makeup chair, some god awful time in the morning, I was sitting there with Doug across from me, and because I couldn't see, normally you put some stuff like that on, you look in the mirror and you try and work out who the character is, how they're going to work, how the makeup works, but I couldn't see any of that. So I said to Doug before they put the teeth in, can you tell me what the makeup's doing? And I started doing very small facial expressions inside the mask, and nothing happened. And so then my expressions got bigger and bigger until I was gurning. Do you have the expression gurning?
No.
Pulling the biggest face, contorting your face as much as you possibly can. And still the makeup wasn't moving an iota. So I thought, okay, so I can't make the face move at all. What have I got? I've got the tongue that I can stick out, and I can kind of walk like a fat man or a pregnant woman, and I've got this wound in my stomach. So yeah, I was getting limited into exactly what I could actually do. And I thought, at least I can talk, because actually I was listening to talking to Nick and talking afterwards about, maybe the blind guys were the ones that didn't talk because they were nasty, something along those lines. But it's not true, because I did have dialogue. Butterball had dialogue in the original script until we got to the first day with my dialogue. And because I had these teeth glued onto my own teeth, I couldn't get my lips together. And my lines were, perhaps we'd prefer you, and impossible. So they're all plosives with P's and B's. And you can't say P's and B's if you can't put your lips together. So I was like, it wasn't really very, very scary. And so I could hear the frustration from the production crew, that they were already frustrated enough that they've got these blind actors who couldn't move their makeups, who are walking off into the scenery in the wrong direction. So now they couldn't even say their bloody dialogue. So I could hear the frustration, and now I also hear this conversation about whether they could ADR it so we could go in and just dub it afterwards. They went, no, take his lines and give them to the female. I was gutted.
Oh,
So
terrible.
yeah, I went back to the makeup room later that day and cried inside the makeup, and And funnily enough, nobody noticed.
Oh.
Nobody noticed because nobody could tell what I was doing inside of there. And which was kind of poetic justice for no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
I think that ended up trying to be objective. Do you think that your character and a few of the other... Well, it ended up being really every Cenobite for the most part, the ones under Pinhead that couldn't really talk that much. Do you feel like that added to the effect in the long run?
Oh, that's a good one. It certainly strengthens Pinhead, and I think it's stronger to have a central character. So somebody emailed me recently or talked on Facebook, and they were saying that in the original story that my character was the lead Cenobite. I don't know if that's true. I haven't read the Hellbound Hunt for a long, long time. I think it's stronger to have a kind of hierarchy. I've got very mixed feelings about the other Cenobites, to be honest, because I think we had a kind of history, and that was very European, but gave us great strength in that we had this mysticism, this history, that you didn't really know that much about who we were, but you felt like we'd been around for eternity. But by the time you get to the third film, it seems any Tom, Dick, and Harry can become a Cenobite. Yeah. They just needed to be touched by Doug.
Yeah, and instantly, too. I mentioned this on the show last week, is exactly what you're saying. To me, in the first two movies, feels like, these people have been around for a long time, and it was a slow process to become a Cenobite. And from the third one on, it really was like they instantly get killed and become a Cenobite.
Yeah,
and you had to earn your place as a Cenobite. Before.
Yes. It sounds like the old Cenobites are moaning about the young whippersnapper Cenobites. The bloody Cenobites these days. They're not like they used to be. Not in our day.
We walk to and from hell uphill both ways.
Not anybody. We had to earn our place to be a Cenobite when we were young. These days, it's a Monty Python Cenobite sketch.
I was thinking the same. They had to slash us in two with a bread knife.
We'll have to make that in an animation. Put up on YouTube.
But it's true, because Frank never became a Cenobite. I like the idea that, only the chosen nasty ones, or innocents even, maybe even the innocents, really became Cenobites. And again, listening to talking to Nick the other day, you were using the word enlightenment and the epiphany, and I thought, that's interesting because it's religious language, and we were supposed to be, in Clive's original description to us, the high priests of hell, and it was very much our duty to do what we did, and that we didn't necessarily agree with it, but we had to do it. We had no choice. It's in a similar way, similar theme occurs in the movie with Vinnie Jones, The Midnight Meat Train. And Vinnie Jones's character has no choice. Sorry, spoilers, but has no choice but to mutilate and to kill. You don't know that till the end. Sorry, anybody who hasn't seen that. But it's a brilliant film. Have you seen Midnight Meat Train?
I have, indeed.
A while ago. There's been some discussions on again, circuitous conversation about that, because we're running an event right now that was inspired from the last show.
Yeah, from what happened?
Midnight Meat, where people can submit us stories or art or whatever that has to do with midnight meat. Then it can be about anything that you can think of.
Because the backstory there, it's actually currently on my on-demand on my cable, but they shorten the name to just Midnight Meat. And I was like, that really sounds like a totally different genre film, Midnight Meat. And so it inspired our little... and Annabelle made a fantastic graphic for it. So anybody out there, if you can think of a good story that pertains to Midnight Meat, you can add it to
Or a piece of art.
Or a piece of art, exactly.
Anything. Midnight Meat is open to interpretation.
What's the phrase when you go, you sneak down on midnight and you raid the cupboards? Midnight feast.
Midnight snack.
Yeah. Every night, to me, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's midnight snack. I think that's it.
I don't know where you're going with this. It sounds filthy.
Yeah, no, that was just occurring to me too.
Time to get my midnight meat in here.
Yeah, I know.
A nice snack.
Yeah. A bit of safe sausage, please. With or without mayonnaise.
Oh my.
Sorry.
Special sauce.
Going back to Cinnabon.
Now we have a whole breakfast laid out. Sausage and Cinnabon. I'm getting hungry.
That's going to have to be a meal product, is Cinnabon and sausage.
Well, we'll be all together in Atlantic City. Perhaps we can make a video of this.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
And sausage. We'll bring that down for breakfast.
We will bring the sausage.
Okay.
Well,
You know the expression, if you make it, they will come.
BYOS, bring your own sausage.
We should see who can get the biggest sausage.
Wow.
Have sausage envy.
BYOS to the midnight meat train. It'll be a party all night.
Although you'll have an advantage there because we're not allowed to bring food items into the US, so I'll only have like Thursday afternoon to kind of rush around Atlantic City searching for sausage.
Simon Bamford search for sausage. It will be a mini documentary from the event.
The Sausage Crusades.
Would you be a knight if it's a sausage crusades? What would your knight name
With
be?
like a sausage lance?
And a Cinnabon shield.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
The Photoshop opportunity, sir.
it's a Frankfurter.
Oh. I like it. Would you be a drag for that?
I very, very rarely worn drag. I did play an Ugly Sister once. And I was. You don't have pantomime over there, do you? We have this kind of tradition over here, and I did play an Ugly Sister when I was 26 in pantomime, and it didn't work because it's usually this kind of butch bloke who's just got a moustache, and I was 26 and I looked 20, so I was far too pretty for playing this kind of spoof woman character. Although I did dress up. I did dress up in makeup. I don't think you had this. There was a campaign for Cancer Research UK over here recently on Facebook, and women had to post without any makeup and then donate on Facebook, and then you nominate somebody. And my lovely niece decided to nominate me, and the men had to post in full makeup.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it was when we were over in LA with Monsterpalooza, so I got Barbie Wilds to take me up to her room and make me up. And I've got a nice picture in the Marriott hotel room with Denny's in the background of me looking very wrong.
Or right, depending on your prerogative.
All right, yeah, all right. Actually, again, going back to Jacqueline S., there's a character in that, because I've known for a while or so that might be on the cards as a movie, called Kush, who is he's from the Netherlands. He's a drug addict. He's wafer thin. He's just a really, really, really fantastic character. You'd love to get your teeth in. He's not a cross-dresser, but he kind of dresses very oddly, but he does wear full makeup. So I did use the pictures yesterday when I heard this was being made, and sent them off to Mark Miller, the CEO at Clive's production company, and also to the director, Paulman, Jivanka. I found her Twitter account, and thankfully she followed me back. Although I have met Jivanka a couple of times, and sent her a picture of me and saying "Kush, hey, Kush." So I watch this space. I'd love to play that part. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful part that everybody would talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's been a while.
What about it appeals to you?
It's so memorable, and it's so alternative, and there's so much you could get your teeth into. There's far too many so's in that sentence. It would be the possibilities would be endless. But I suppose, being totally brutally honest, people would remember it.
Mm-hmm.
which would be great.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me very much of the MC type character in Cabaret, but with blood and guts. I can't really say much more about him because it would spoil it. But he's a wonderful character. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You talked about you didn't have much to go on because you had the tongue movements and you're kind of encased in a suit. But do you feel like you are in that character of Butterball? Like you put something
kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Typecast.
Well, not necessarily stuck, but part of you is in that performance.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, like I say, it was hard to really get much out of it. It was a little bit acting by numbers, if I'm honest, because they would literally at the start of each. Nick probably went through this, but at the start of each shot, they would face us in the direction that we were going to go. And then we kind of shuffle forward, which is why we had this shuffling movement, till we could feel we had like Jesus sandals on, which you never see, till we could feel this like draft excluder sausage thing, go back to sausages. And when we felt that, we'd stop and we'd know we'd hit the mark, and then they would have given us directions like turn a quarter to the left or a quarter to the right or raise your hand. But we had no idea what we were doing, who was in front of us, what the set looked like. The other actors hadn't got a clue what we looked like, apart from the other Cenobites who were in makeup at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. We didn't meet the other actors until the wrap party. We had to be introduced to them. You've just been working with these people for 3 months. But yeah, I like to think so. There was one scene, I can't remember, I think it was Hellraiser 2, and I had a casting for a new sitcom over here, and they released me early to go and do the casting at the BBC, and I believe somebody else actually stood in for me and actually put their head on. I can't. This is awful. I shouldn't say this, should I? I can't.
No,
tell.
say whatever you want. Feel free.
I can't tell which scene it was.
Say it, and you really regret it. We can always cut it.
Well, don't tell them that. The interview will be 5 minutes.
Yeah. You have my permission for none of this. None. No, I'm not like that. Yeah. It's a very difficult question, to be honest. When you are so limited in what you can do, it was very frustrating because it was my first movie, and I'd done so much theatre stuff. I was full of ideas of what we could do, and then I realised that we really couldn't do very much. I mean, Nick came up with the idea of the chattering teeth because he had so many teeth, which was brilliant. That's become his thing. Nobody really remembers the me rolling my tongue around my mouth, and to do that I had to push, because it was so thick. I had to push my tongue right out of my mouth, like as far as I could get it, just to kind of reach the very lips of Butterball's makeup. Yeah, hard. It was hard. I spoke to Jeff Portas recently, and I was talking to him about the remake, and I was saying, surely these days, it must be much easier with all the makeups, because with 30 years on, they've got these advances. I know that they can put little screens inside the makeups and they have cameras attached, so the actors can see where they're going to, even though there's no eye holes. And he said, no. He said, it's much worse than it was. He said the screens don't work at all. They just confuse the actors even more. So they don't really use them much. The makeups weigh even more than they did because they're made out of silicone these days rather than foam latex, so they're more uncomfortable to wear. And I was saying, yeah, but surely they don't glue you in at 7 a.m. and then kind of release you at 8 p.m. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're still glued in for 13 hours a day, 14 hours a day. Oh, shit. But, yeah, I'd still do it. I'd still do it. Of course, I'd still do it.
Yeah. No.
I have talked to Clive about, any chance, please, watch this space.
Could you possibly? Would they need to bring you back as Butterball, or could you be a whole new Cenobite now?
I can't talk about that for legal reasons. Okay. I have talked to Clive about it, but he has told me all sorts of wonderful things, and it's very exciting. I can say that. but I can't. I promised I wouldn't mention what you told me to anybody, and I haven't done so.
No problem. That's
sorry.
completely understandable. Completely.
Mm-hmm.
But you can keep us posted when you can talk. When you can.
When I can, yeah. Well, that won't be until these days. They tie you up in red tape as soon as you sign the contract. You know all this. As soon as you sign the contract for a movie, you sign your life away to talk about anything. I'm sorry about the dogs in the background.
They're just trying to get involved.
Sorry?
They want to get involved in the interview.
I have several businesses that I run, and one of them is a dog hotel. Believe it or not.
Really?
And I have three dogs here. I'm just making sure they're not trying to mate each other. No, they're fine. Personally, I'm a big dog person. I used to have old English sheepdogs, bobtails, I think they're called over there. Mm-hmm. But at the moment, I've got a Jack Russell called Bertie, and I have a Chihuahua called Honey. I'm not saying anything about Chihuahuas because there's bound to be somebody who loves Chihuahuas listening.
Well, I was going to say Jack Russells are intense. Those are some active dogs, and they're smart. They get in trouble.
And he's okay, though. He's a very placid Jack Russell. And we have a toy poodle. A toy poodle called...
small little doggies.
Yeah.
I'm a small dog man myself. I had a min
You're
pin.
a small dog?
Yeah. I'm not a small dog. I'm a small dog man. I like the small dogs. Yes. I had a miniature pinscher not too long ago.
No, I've always... Lucy, the one making all the noises, is a puppy, so she's only 16 weeks old, I think. So, but they've quieted down now, thankfully, and they're not mounting each other, so that's good.
Well, actually, if you go back and listen to the old interviews from 2006 or so, I had my dog Aldo at the time, min pin, and he would almost always be on my lap or on my shoulder during the interviews, and he would yip during some of the interviews.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was talking about.
Not being able to talk about secret projects.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was about being able to talk about secret projects.
They never used to do that. When we made Hellraiser, there was none of this legal documents you had to sign. But these days, you really cannot talk about anything, not anything. So, and I'm better at keeping secrets.
Yeah.
If Clive tells me anything, I am stumm about it because he confides in me, and you don't have to.
Yeah, and with the internet now, if you would say so, I mean, it would get out there everywhere instantly.
Yeah, exactly. True.
And he's not just. I mean, not that you would ever say, but you do have a history with him, so it's not. I would think it would be not an annoyance. It would be a matter of, well, I respect this person.
Exactly. I would never cross that boundary with Clive. It's. I respect enormously the fact that he's kept our friendship going.
Yeah.
Despite all the pressures that are on him constantly. So
that being said, even with any issues when you're filming the movie and stuff, when the movie comes out and it's a success and it's with your friend that you've known for so long and it's a story he wrote and he directed and it's out there and it's doing well, what was that like for you?
You've lost me.
That was
Sorry,
a lot.
My brain.
Well, you just said you're friends with you and Clive are old friends, and then once Hellraiser is released and it does well and people love the movie, what was that like for you to be part of a movie with a friend of yours?
It was. I don't think. Again, because it was our first movie, I don't think we none of us really knew what to expect. So the hype and the success and the media attention that it got, we just thought was normal because we didn't know any different.
Right.
So we weren't aware of what kind of waves it was making around the world. It's interesting at the conventions you get these posters coming from Japan and Germany, Thailand, India, all over the place. It's crazy. So we weren't really aware of it. We just thought it was normal. And also a lot of my theatre friends weren't really into horror. My family certainly weren't. Going to watch a kind of bleak sadomasochistic, it's not bleak, but a sadomasochistic love story with your grandfather is an interesting experience. And your mother sitting next to you, and every time you come on screen, she covers her eyes and goes, I can't watch. And you're going, Mum, but this is me. This is my bits. I still can't watch.
Will she look at a picture?
Yeah, she's seen pictures over the years. She understands, but I think secretly they both think, oh, if only he could have done something with Disney. One day he'll get a real job.
You talk about the posters from other countries. Any of those stick out to you? Like a particular, like the artwork from another country are a lot of them different?
There's an interesting Japanese one, which I assume came out around the time of the 80s, because certainly
Japanese.
Everyone's
come up with nutty stuff.
Well, yeah, this isn't what you think it's going to be. It's kind of a long picture of all the four of us Cenobites, head to toe, but every bit of gore has been covered up and every bit of blood has been removed. So. Like Doug and myself, and my wound they've just added extra bits of leather costume. And even my fingers, which were dipped in blood, they've cleaned them up. And they kind of baglarized it, baglarized?
Yeah.
That's what they did to Shakespeare's plays. They kind of cleaned them up.
That's probably your mom's favorite poster.
Yes. Yeah, probably is. But you think with the Japanese, they're kind of crazy for this stuff. But I suppose in the 80s, mid-80s, they were perhaps, their censorship was a lot stricter.
Yeah.
It's rather sad is that getting hold of really good quality, high-res pictures of the four of us is very difficult. But getting hold of that one is very easy. But of course, nobody really wants it. Clive's got an
interesting. I would absolutely want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cenobites have to try.
Oh, you'll see it when you come to Bazaar in Atlantic City. It's bound to be there. I think Barbie's got a few copies.
You just get out a red Sharpie and add in your own blood.
Yeah. yeah. Maybe a few Cinnabons and some sausages as well.
Right.
Exactly.
The cherry.
So talking about the success, and it sounds like the more of this has hit you as you've done conventions. At this point, do you realize that this really is one of the horror movies? Like this is, people think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre or, other Nightmare on Elm Street. This is one of the horror movies that every horror person on the planet has seen at some point in their life.
I think that kind of occurred to us. Again, Nick mentioned this, but after 10 years, I think after about 8 years, Doug started getting approached for conventions over in the States. And at our 10th anniversary, we were invited. He rang us and said, do you want to come over and do Monster Model Con in Boston?
That's where I'm at.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in Boston?
Yep.
Well, fantastic. I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. So we went, yeah, that would be really cool. And he said, you'll be blown away by what's happening over here. So we kind of had no idea. I had a whole load of pictures printed, hundreds of them, and we came over and we were blown away by the success. I think then we began to realize that there was perhaps life beyond 1986 and 87 or wherever it was that we finished making. 88, 89 actually, I think, for Hellraiser 2. But sadly, I was a little optimistic with the amount of pictures I had printed. And I think about 5 years ago, I found some of the original ones, and they'd all kind of gone brown and crusty around the edges. I had to throw them away. I thought, no.
An antique.
Yeah, they did look
antique. That's pretty rough, but...
But also, I thought, well, if somebody's... Hey, guys, come on. I thought if somebody's going to pay for me to come over to Boston, I will stay, because I've never been to Boston. So yeah, I asked them if they'd extend my visit, which was a huge mistake. So I ended up. Well, the convention.
I think you need to have a guide in Boston.
Well, I hadn't learnt that being somewhere wonderful and fantastic is great, but only if you can really share it with somebody. So the convention ended and everybody went home, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm in Boston on my own. What shall I do now? And I kind of wandered around and, saw some sights and then everything else, but it didn't really mean anything. But Bobby and I had a similar experience, actually. We were invited to go to Rock and Shock in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yeah, we go there every year.
You go there, yeah.
Oh, wasn't it fun? We saw Guar there. I'd never heard of Guar.
Yeah. Which year did you go?
You might.
Oh, gosh, I can't remember.
I think Guar was there the year before I went.
Oh no, they were
like
there.
a few.
They were there. They were year, but I think they've been there a few years. But they were there the first year we went.
Oh, that's right.
As a reference, they had Bush up on stage, and I think they beheaded him, and they had Sarah Palin, was it?
Palin. Yeah.
So that must have been around about that time, and they were disemboweling her, I believe.
That's fantastic.
I'm all for that.
So Bobby and I went to Rock and Shock, and we all went to Rock and Shock. But then we had, which was for the weekend, and then the following weekend we were down in Florida at Spooky Empire. So Barbie and I flew down on the Monday to Florida, and then of course we had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to kill before the convention started, and it just, even though we were pardon?
What part of Florida were you in?
Orlando.
Yeah,
Orlando, in a lovely resort hotel. But even though we were together, it felt wrong that that we were on holiday without our partners, and we felt guilty. I think we were racked with guilt that we were having such a lovely time. One of the great things there was the Universal contacted us while we were doing the show there, and they gave the four of us lifetime VIP passes to Universal Studios theme parks. So we got to get in
let
free.
Other people borrow them?
we can get 5 people in, but one of us we have to be there too.
All right.
So
Let's
we're all
plan this trip here.
Is what you're saying?
Oh, it's fab. We didn't queue for any rides. I went on the Simpsons ride like 5 times. I just kept going back to the front. Awesome. I'm a great theme park junkie. So I was in second heaven, and Doc got us all together actually just before we went in on the coach on the way in, and said, "Can you believe, all those years ago when we were freezing our butts off in Cricklewood Production Village, making this little film with Clive, that we'd end up with VIP passes to Universal Studios in Florida."
That's amazing.
We were very happy.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's something. I mean, Neil and I just sit at home doing this, but it's such an interesting thought to be at that point. Well, even honestly, for me, I didn't have any intention of doing podcasts or anything like this, so I have like a little tiny idea of what that's like. It's surreal. Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and we're very aware of how lucky we are. But it is it's a false life that we lead. The four of us meet up from our normal work and our normal jobs and just our normal lives, usually at Heathrow Airport, and then we jet off somewhere in the world and we live this fantasy lifestyle for a weekend. And then we fly home, and then we say goodbye at the airport, and that's it. It's thankfully I don't think it's got to many of us ego-wise.
Yeah. I brought this up to Nick, when I've seen the pictures when you guys are all together, and you generally look like you're all having a good time and enjoy each other's company.
Who wouldn't have a good time? It's just Claire Higgins has done a couple with us, and we flew over. We flew into Newark. I think it was India again, actually, but we flew into Newark, and they picked us up in a stretch limo at the airport to take us to the conventions. And we were in an element, just going, look at this, we're being picked up in a stretch limo. Now, in London or in England, that would be so vulgar and so kitsch that you'd be really embarrassed. But just in the States, it feels right. You feel like you should be treated that way.
I agree.
Yeah, Neil's all about it.
Yes, I am.
Neil's looking into limo companies that speak. How can we make this happen?
Yes.
Sponsorship.
I believe that's how Annabelle and I should be picked up for other conventions. I have one. I did one. What was that?
Doug, you know what Doug drives?
No.
He's got a hearse.
Oh, really?
Really?
That's very cool.
It's excellent.
He lives in Pittsburgh now, and he drives around in a hearse.
Wow.
He has given us lifts in it, but of course it's all sealed in the windows.
Yeah.
There's no aircon in the back because there's not
Yeah.
much need. So it's claustrophobic and horribly hot in the back.
It's actually funny you just said you lived in Pittsburgh, because earlier I was setting up that interview, and I was like, oh, we do it at this time, which is 4 p.m. his time, and she was like, well, where do you think he lives? And I was like, England? Like, he lives in Pittsburgh, and I was like, oh.
Are you disappointed?
No, I just felt kind of silly.
It's nice, Pittsburgh. My brother lived in Pittsburgh for a while in a little place called Sewickley. It was very nice. I like Pittsburgh a lot. Doug's only been there less than a year, I think. He's only been in the States less than a year. So you were right to think.
Is that culture shock?
For Doug? I don't think so. No, I think I think we've all been to the States enough. He did tell me that you don't say you're redecorating. You are, like, he's decorating his house up, and he said you don't say you're decorating the house because that means scatter cushions and
doilies.
And although Doug is a scatter cushion, a doily man, not in public. Renovating. You use the word renovating, don't you? Whereas renovating over here means knocking down beams and generally restructuring the whole property.
But we live in New England, so that those terms are the same here as in England. Yeah. So maybe in Pittsburgh they get a little. I don't know.
Because I would think the same thing. Renovating would be like, redoing the actual structure of the house. Yes.
It's a steel town, isn't it? Originally Pittsburgh, so they're probably more manly than you are in New England. Mm-hmm. Not that you're manly, Annabelle. You sound very feminine.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a very manly man.
Yeah, obviously. Mm-hmm. Well, with a hat like that, you have to.
Yeah, Annabelle painted that hat, by the way. Yes.
And your sideburns, your facial hair looks very striking too.
Yes, it looks very striking indeed.
In America, that's for not good.
Oh, really? Sorry.
Generally speaking.
Okay, it looks fabulous.
I like the word. I think striking is usually, for me, it's a word to use for someone who's looks good, but not like a Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie that I use.
Different.
Yes.
Yeah, you look different.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm a very different-looking person. Yes.
I've had to have a beard for a couple of shows. I did Fiddler on the Roof over here with Topol, actually, who is an amazing man. And we had to. It was in our contract. We had to have a beard for 3 months. God, does it itch? And we weren't allowed to cut it either, so it just kind of got longer and longer.
Yeah.
And also, I did Superstar. I had to have a beard for that.
Did you still do a lot of theater work?
Not as much as I used to. Funnily enough, I run my own theatre company.
Oh.
Doing kind of children's stuff more than anything else. It doesn't do much these days. And previous to this, I was very, very lucky, and I worked for a company called Richmond Productions, which tours British theatre internationally for expats. So I got to fly all over the world with that. And I started off, I went as designer, actually, because I've done some stage design, which I find really interesting. And ended up acting, and then finally actually directing some pieces and producing and taking stuff out. But we went to Kuala Lumpur and Cairo. I must tell you my Cairo story. Are you aware of the production, The Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged?
I'm not. No.
Sounds it's kind of
like
a humorous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The premise of it is that there's 3, I think it was the Australian guys, who decide they're going to do the whole of Shakespeare's works in 1 2-hour piece. And it becomes very obvious early on that they actually haven't got a clue what they're talking about.
This wasn't a book first, was it? Because I worked with kids, and one of them had a very, I'll just go there, dumbed down version of Romeo and Juliet. And it was a nightmare to look at.
No, this isn't a book, but it's a really funny piece if you get the opportunity. They've also done the Bible the whole of the Bible in 2 hours. The complete history of the world. It's very funny, but my character as the actor, because you kind of play yourself as the actor, started in the audience as a kind of stooge, and the other two come on stage, and then eventually I joined them quite by accident. But we were playing at the Hilton Hotel in Cairo, and it was they'd all had dinner, and they were fantastic. They were top brass from all the top companies in the world, and Mubarak had sponsored the production, so he kind of paid for us to be there, which is not a good thing really these days. So I was brought in. They all had their meal, and the director was sitting at this big central table, and he said, "I'll come and find you just before it starts, and you can swap with me." So I swapped seats just before the show started, and everybody was sitting there in their finery, and this chap leaned down this big table and said, "Oh, you're new. Are you one of the actors?" And I said, yes, I am. But now I've told you that, I am going to have to kill you. And everybody at the table, as one, went with a sharp intake of breath, and stared at him. And he smiled and said, "Oh," he said, "murder seems rather intense. Perhaps you could just remove my tongue." And they all laughed as one. And I went, "Well, that's odd. I wonder what that's all about." Anyway, we carried on. We got to the interval of the production, and the director came back. He said, you just threatened to kill the Prince of Egypt."
Really?
To his face. And if that wasn't bad enough, in the second act, they tried to do a section of Hamlet, and my character was supposed to play, oh, my brain's gone, the female character, her, I can't remember her name, who drowns herself. Anyway, her. That's terrible, an actor can't remember that name. Anyway, but they realised they're short of characters, so they try and get somebody from the audience to play this character. But my character's not very happy about that, because he's done work on this production. So he insults this poor member of the audience who they drag onto the stage, and it's really horrible to her. So we'd seen this woman in the first act, and she seemed up for it, and she was making a lot of noise. We obviously had a few to drink, so she'll be fine. We'll pick on her. So we drag her onto the stage, and I'm absolutely foul to her, calling her bimbo and just being nasty to her. Turns out she was the prince's cousin.
He must have been laughing. It sounds like he has a really good sense of humor.
I think if he didn't, Simon might not be here right now.
No, I think people have lost their hands for less, I think, in Egypt.
Yeah, I don't think they mess around.
No, but it was great. It was a fantastic job. I love traveling. I love acting. To have the two put together was just a joy, And now with, of course, Hellraiser and Nightbreed and everything else, I still get to travel. Lucky me. Sorry.
I'm actually. You mentioned that you do kids theater. Do you like horror as a genre? We do have a lot of actors and people involved in this work come on that they're not really, or maybe there's some of them just don't like horror in general. It was work. Mm-hmm. So do you enjoy that genre?
When I was a kid, I lived in a little village, and there was just one little shop that sold. It was the newsagent, so it had magazines and things. And when all the other kids were trying to get the porn magazines from the top shelf, I was trying to get Fangoria magazine. I was fascinated around kind of 14, 15 years old. I just thought it was amazing that they could create this stuff and it could be so real. And I was a real horror fan. But as I've got older, I less and less, because I think you become aware of your own mortality more and how real some of that stuff can be. I tried to write a screenplay for one of Clive's short stories, and for research I watched some of the modern horror stuff, and I found it very disturbing that it was so graphic. And I know it's supposed to be disturbing, that's the whole point.
But would you think that's a change in your attitude or a change in modern horror?
I think both, to be honest, both. I like a good... I like a good fantasy story. I really liked. Oh, I'm so friggin' rubbish with names. Jeepers Creepers. Now I know that's not kind of up there as, but I really enjoyed that
I like that
because
movie
you got this
myself.
kind of mystical figure, and I really enjoyed Cabin in the Woods.
I did, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's very non-traditional.
Yeah.
I think most people can get into that even if they don't like horror.
Yeah. But I think a lot of you have to really like horror movies to understand a lot of the to really appreciate.
But it is
film.
clever on its own.
I liked. It was the first horror movie I watched with my niece, who's now 18, and I just loved from the word go when they had those people just wandering around an office, and you think, well, what's this all about? And then suddenly it goes, the words "Cabin in the Woods" comes up, you're like boom, jump moment, and you go, everybody in the audience jumps, and then you laugh because why have you jumped? You know, it's such a contrived jump moment out of absolutely nothing. I just thought from that moment it had me hooked. I thought, I love your sense of humor here. It's perverted and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it had a little homage to Hellraiser there as well with the puzzle box or something.
Oh yeah, when they're in the basement.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what, like I said. I think probably anyone could like it, but I think the more you're into horror movies, the more you'd appreciate that movie to see all those little the little odes to other horror films.
Yeah, no, that's right. No, I do. I wrote a load of while Dougie and Barbie have been writing horror stories. I've been writing children's stories, but I have to kind of. I don't mind talking about it here, but obviously I have to keep that section of me well away from the other section because parents wouldn't be too keen.
That's very interesting because I mentioned very briefly that I worked with kids. I worked with kids in residential, and that's not. I would not want to have people know who Annabelle Lecter is. It's a very separate from real life, so to speak.
Yeah, it's essential. Otherwise, you're seen as trying to promote something completely unsuitable to an age group that really has innocence, and you're perverting their innocence. And I don't agree with that at all.
So, what sorts of talking about the kid stuff? How do you feel about that there's this stereotype of people that can be interested in horror and deal with that imagery and deal with that subject matter and not and be frightened by it? Because a lot of people consider horror to be the mark of a crazy person.
Yes. I'm not sure how much truth there is. I mean, I think there's that perception from people who aren't into horror. I've always been fascinated at the conventions who you meet. You meet the professional people, the doctors and the nurses and the lab technicians, the farmers. It's such a cross section of society. And I think one of the things I have found, and a very useful lesson working with children, is that they love to be scared. They love jeopardy in their lives. It needs to be safe, but the more that they can feel safely frightened, and I think we all need that. We all need to have that. It's built into our way of learning, the fight or flight. We all have that adrenaline that comes pump around, and children love that too. It's just at some point adults will say that's enough, and I don't want to go that much further. An awful lot of people like horror films.
Well, it was funny because when we went to this convention in a place called Kalamazoo, and the person that drove us on the way back, it was a little van cab, was talking about these people that go to these horror things, thinking that these people were all universally violent and that if they didn't have horror they'd be acting out.
Yeah. He even said specifically that he's like, it's a good thing they have things like this because then they're not out actually doing them. And I was like, whoa, it's like basically saying we'd be out killing people if we weren't going to this horror convention.
Yeah, it's a preconception, isn't it? There's a lovely show I've done in the States a couple of times, and it always coincides with a veterans meeting. So you have half the hotel is filled with people dressing up and goths, and Again, you can't box the people, but kind of wild. But they get on so well with these veterans. And the veterans are very kind of middle America conservative, dressed up in their finery. But the two groups just get on really well and really accept each other for who they are and what they're doing. And I would have never believed that would have happened. Those two groups of people would really meld like that. But they do. They work. Mm-hmm. I think just the odd person will have a preconception. I had preconceptions before I started doing the shows that it was all going to be goths. But you can't box fans. It's a big cross-section. Occasionally, once in a blue moon, I'll meet somebody and think, okay.
But that really could happen anywhere.
I always
Some
shake
of them are
people's
listening
hands.
right now. That's pretty for our audience, actually.
Usually they have a very cold, clammy handshake. And I always think, oh, okay, you're a little bit scary. But more often than not, though, these huge, great big burly blokes will turn up and they'll say, oh, you scared the fuck out of me when I was 9, when I was 15. And I'm going, oh, really? Thank you very much. I'm more scared of them.
Yeah. Now you feel like them when they were 9. Only
Yeah.
9.
So what is the interest in the kid things? You sound really like a very nice guy. You know, you're taking care of your dogs in the background. So how did you end up getting into that?
I've always, again, because of the pantomime tradition over here, every Christmas they put on the panto. I did this for 25 years. I don't know, I'm a child at heart. I've always been. I think they say most actors need to keep hold of the child within themselves. And maybe I've just kept hold of that child within me a little too much. I love kids. I empathise with kids. I always get on really well with them. And I was looking for something to do about 10 years ago, wondering where to go next. And it was about the time Jamie Oliver, you know, Jamie Oliver's kind of school dinners, trying to educate kids to eating a better diet, because we have got a bit of a problem over here with obesity now within school-age primary children. And I thought, well, that's good. I like what he's doing. And again, I kind of came into theatre because I thought it could make a difference. Maybe that was naive of me, but I saw a lot of theatre in Leicester, where I grew up, that really changed the way I thought and opened my mind to whole ideas that I would have never dreamt of or never been exposed to before. And I always thought theatre can really do that, can really open your mind and change your direction and make you think and discover stuff you'd never discover otherwise, or even contemplate. So I knew it was a powerful media. And then, of course, I did 10, 15 years part in theatre, and a lot of it was just pot boilers, just light entertainment. So I always felt a need to get back to something that actually could change people's lives. So I needed to scratch that itch and get that out, and that's what I did.
Get them young.
Yeah. I also felt I needed to put back to society a little bit, to give something back. But I've done that now. I've done that, been there, got the T-shirt. and the giant side carrot puppet.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. No.
I've had that in one of the first interviews. We talked a lot about kids, and just as you said, the empathy, and mentioning an actor. I think for sure, to be a good actor, you have to be able to get inside of what other people are all about. Yeah. And where children are so playful that it's only natural to interact with that, because that's what they do. That's when you're a child, that's what it's all about, is imagination and play.
Yes, exactly. And if you can't keep hold of that, and also they have that lovely self-awareness and self-confidence, not self-confidence, self-awareness. They don't care how their bodies look or how they appear to other people, and that comes in. And if you can keep hold of that and the ability to play and create, I think it can make you a stronger actor. Sadly, as you get older, it's harder and harder to cling on to that, because the grumpy kind of starts, and the intolerance, and I fight that man in me every day. I have to have a fight with him.
Yeah.
Just recently, actually, last weekend, the reason I wasn't at Texas Frightmare was I was filming something called The Real Mammals, and that's an acronym for Middle-Aged Men in Lycra. It was a comedy here in the UK, and they wanted me to play this really grumpy man, and I thought, finally, I get to release him. It was liberating.
Yeah, it's better to release him in a work of fiction than in reality.
Yeah, actually, I've been cast as him a lot recently. I did a thing called Parson and Son, a short film, recently, and I played in flashback this guy who was really horrible to his 10-year-old son. And the director was very keen for me to spend the day being pretty nasty to him off screen as well for the kids. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to a 10-year-old boy. I mean, he was more professional than me, this boy. He was very cool. But I couldn't just be nasty to him and cut him down and do all those horrible games that people play sometimes. No, I'm a nice person. and he didn't need it. You know, he was a really good actor. But it was kind of liberating to be quite so foul and nasty to a 10-year-old boy and be paid for it.
Yeah, I never get paid for it.
No, I just
sadly,
do it.
yes. But,
you're not a boy, though. I can get away with this.
Yeah, you're very mean to me. I'm childlike. So I think it's the same.
I guess
idea.
it's true.
Coming up, we do have Bazaar Atlantic City, so we're looking forward to that, getting to meet you, and all four of the original Cenobites will be there from Hellbound. Are you looking forward
really
to
a month away now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you been to Atlantic City before?
I haven't. No, I'm really looking forward to it because it looks like a real holiday vacation type resort, and we're in a casino, which is
crazy.
Yeah, we were at
you approach it and there's just nothing. It's really flat, marshy area, and when we went there last year, it was the drive was not good, and I lost a lot of time. So we got there; it was 3 or 4 in the morning, but everything is lit up. You know, you've got Caesar Palace, the Trump thing, and all these different things. So you have, because it's right on the ocean, everything is flat and marsh, and then there's this giant electricity, and everything is just red and gold and bright. It's interesting.
Yeah, we spent an hour just driving around in the morning filming all the casinos.
I said to Barbie, if she'll wear a bikini, I'll wear a mankini, and we'll drink our martinis. So we're going to do martini, mankini, bikini on the beach. We're not. We're really, really not.
Is it going to be one of those banana hammock things?
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly.
I will be there with the camera. We must get this.
Mine might be a bit blooded.
There'll be a stain. Oh.
Oh, images. Too many images going through my head now.
Yeah, anyway, that's bizarreac.com, and that's Friday the 13th through the 15th.
Friday the 13th?
The casino?
I've never been in a casino before. I mustn't spend any money, but I'm really looking forward to it. Doug contacted me earlier this year and said he did it last year, I believe.
Yeah, it was in December.
And the guys were really cool and they'd have a good time. The best bit about it is we bumped into Christopher Young, who composed the music for Hellraiser, in LA earlier this year. And he said, "Oh, well, I'll come to Bazaar and we'll hang out together." And he is the coolest, hippie type, loveliest man, and I have such respect for his work. The success of Hellraiser, I think, was down to a handful of people, and he's definitely one of them. His score was just fantastic and gives you all the right clues and the feeling of the piece. And it's a kind of waltz, I think. If you listen to it, it's a waltz, which is so right because Hellraiser is a love story. We get to hang out with him too. Brilliant.
Very interested.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we're doing Days of the Dead a couple of weeks later in Indianapolis.
Oh, very cool.
Are you going to be there
That's
too?
A big one. No.
Oh, we will not be there in Days of the Dead, no.
But that is a huge convention.
Mm-hmm. It's a big.
That's the Nightbreed one, I think, for us. But Clive's sending down. They're making a documentary about Clive and his work and his influences. So they're sending a documentary team down. So we get to film some stuff while we're there too.
Oh,
Which should
very
be-
cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
No,
Have you done any official documentaries for Hellraiser before?
Yeah, we've just finished one over here called Leviathan, which is probably the biggest one that's been done so far. When they've managed to get hold of some incredible people to talk about it. I think they've got 60 hours of footage that they need to kind of get down to 4.
Wow.
It's very cool of them, actually. Gary Smart was plugging the interview tonight, so thank the people at Leviathan.
Yeah, they were a lovely team, lovely bunch of guys. They ended up going twice and filming for them. Prior to that, when this ages me, when DVDs were released, and they realised they could get extra footage on them, they got in contact with us and said, would you mind coming down to Pinewoods and doing some interviews for extra footage? So we went down and tried to remember what we could about Hellraiser and talked about that. And they didn't pay us anything for them, but they said, we'll send you the box set. Sadly, I'm still waiting for that to arrive.
So if you're out there listening, people, get on that.
Yeah, get on it, because every time I buy bloody Hellraiser DVD or Blu-ray, and a friend borrows it, and I never see the bloody thing again. I keep having to buy them.
Well, yeah, they might end up on eBay. They're like, this is a copy of Hellraiser actually owned by Simon Bamford.
Held in the hands.
Yeah, again, it's got his DNA on it somewhere.
I don't know what you were doing with the film.
That person is now going to approach Cinnabon. Damn it.
That little pubic hair put in the side there.
Why is your pubic hair on Hellraiser?
Why wouldn't it be?
What are you doing?
I'm an old man. The pubic hair gets everywhere.
Just the pubic hair is flying when you're talking to Simon Bamford.
It might be one of my ear hairs coming out.
Sorry,
So how was that interview with Simon? Oh, it was fine, except for this pubic hair was everywhere.
We were wading through it. We were choking on it.
I've got it stuck in my teeth now.
Oh dear. Too much fun was had by all.
If you were around Boston, I think you would have a good time with us.
Definitely. Definitely.
That's our other. We have a YouTube thing where I take Neil, the country rube, into Boston.
Yeah, I show up and I'm like, we're in the big city. I'm in the big city now. Oh boy. Well, you show me around there, Annabelle. That's really not too far from the truth.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm a country boy. I was brought up in the countryside, so yeah, always been impressed by anything with more than that.
With more than 5 floors of building.
Yeah, I was going to say 50 residents.
Wow.
I'm from the big city, from Sandwich.
Sandwich. That's the name of his town, is Sandwich.
Oh yeah.
And he lives on Campbell Street, so
the joke is tell everyone where I live.
Sandwich.
Like
Edit it out.
Yeah, what number?
What edit? It's
what number is that, Neil?
I thought you had that poster. I think I had to yell at you to take it down.
Yes, you did. You're like, why do you have your street address?
And Neil, what time of the day are you out?
What?
Oh, I did want to actually ask you about the Fourth Reich. I think.
Yeah.
I love the concept, and it's got an awesome cast. I'm a big fan of Nazis.
We actually saw something about this a while ago, and it caught our interest. Yeah. Not realizing that you were in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Fourth Reich's been on the cards for a long, long time. Well before Dead Snow came out. Sean Robert Smith is the director. He contacted myself and Doug and Tom, and showed us the script and signed us up. And yeah, we've only got kind of one scene, I think, but it's a lovely scene with the three of us.
And then you have Sean Bean in it.
Sean Bean, yes.
Yeah. So how did that happen? I saw that this guy. Oh shoot! You just said his name. The director. It's not Scott.
Sean Robert Smith.
Sean.
Yeah.
that he's really only done shorts for the most part and done makeup effects and things like that. So how did Sean Bean enter this picture?
Pass. I don't know.
Okay.
The Fourth Reich's one of those projects that's been on the cards for a long, long time, but, and moves forward, and then seems like it's suddenly about to happen, and then it stops again, and it had the green light, and then it stopped again, and it hasn't been made yet. We're still waiting to start filming it.
Oh wow!
And I think it's 4 years we've been waiting. 4 years for the Fourth Reich. So whether it happens, we've done a lot of work on kind of publicity, and I don't know. I'm beginning to lose hope a little bit, which is a shame.
Who can we harass to make this movie happen?
Sean Robert Smith, probably. He occasionally he'll ring me up, or he'll email me and say, let's talk more and let's get it happening. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a great concept. And he was very, very keen to make sure he's got all these experts. He sent us detailed descriptions of our characters and enormous backstories of where we've been, who we've been, what we've done, how we grew up. Such detail. And he was very, very keen to make sure that every historical aspect was spot on, so that you wouldn't get people saying, well, they never had that rifle in the Second World War, and they never had this, and they never had the other. So stickler for detail.
Yeah, Neil and I are very film fussy.
Yes.
And, noticing things like that. I mean, you can, as we say when we do our movie reviews, that there's lots of fluffy movies that people can just watch and enjoy, but that's, for us to really, really be into it, unless it's absolutely ridiculous funny, then those are great to see someone that really cares that much, and it takes it personally to make a film.
Yeah. It is kind of bizarre where you draw the line in that, though, isn't it? You kind of... I know exactly what you mean. You see something and it just jars, and you think that's wrong and this is wrong. But then you think of the whole... You're watching a film and you're expected to believe that something completely fantastical is happening. And you do. You go along with that, which something could never happen in real life. And then you're kind of nitpicking at the tiny details. Yeah.
That's something I bring up on the show is suspension of disbelief. And it is weird where you draw the line, because you can be into something, like you said, that it could never happen, but you're into it, and then it could just be something small that will instantly take you out of it.
It's the hair in your teeth. That's what that is.
That's exactly that.
Yes.
Clive talks about that. He talks about the suspension of disbelief being this spiral, and you have to start at the top of the spiral with a scenario that everybody accepts and is real life, and then you very slowly take them down this spiral to something which could never happen, but by which point you have them hooked and they completely believe in everything that you're doing.
This whole thing is something we talk every week. We watch Hannibal and then discuss it. And Neil had been very concerned that almost every week there's some new serial killer, and it's always this very artistic kill, and the person is very intense, and that would never happen. There's no metropolis area where that's happening. It wouldn't happen, where there's all these amazingly creative killers. So does that take away from the show? And the last show we discussed, you just go with it. They're interesting.
Well,
it never happen, but
if there's a lot about something you really like, you're gonna overlook certain things. It's just it's just nature, I guess, human nature.
But I think you
and like you said with the spiral, because I'm already invested in that story. So now, if that would have been right to begin with, all these crazy things, maybe I wouldn't have, been as invested with it and let it not bother me as much.
I think you hit the nail on the head as well. That there's a program over here called Midsummer Murders, and it takes place in this little town called Midsummer.
We have that too.
It's been going for frigging donkey's years, and how many bloody murders can they have in this little town?
I just watched it the other day. It's on Netflix.
Similarly, it's you've got diminishing returns with Hannibal. I haven't seen it, but eventually you'll go, well, just how many kind of serial killers can there be in the country?
Yeah.
Funny, cool story. When I knew Clive and we lived in Crouch End, and I was at drama school there, we actually lived around the corner from a serial killer. I can't remember his
Did
name
you
now,
know
but
it at the time?
we knew it when it was discovered. Yeah,
Oh, really?
he invited young men back to his house and killed them, chopped them up, and
Oh, wow.
flushed them down the toilets.
Wow.
And he got through 30, 40 people, I think, before he was discovered. He was only discovered because the drains got blocked.
Wow.
And he was literally Cranwell Gardens. It was literally around the corner from where Clive and I were living. I mean, we were living in different houses, but it was just around the corner.
Yeah.
And to know that you probably got on the tube or you'd gone to the shop and that man, you probably brushed shoulders and seen him regularly was very, very disturbing.
Yeah. Did you know him at all? Like, was there any interaction, or just knowing that he was there?
Just knowing when it all came out and it was discovered, knowing that had happened and it had happened around the corner, and you would have brushed shoulders with him at some point, certainly.
And he probably would have just appeared to be mostly normal, because if he's luring all of these people to him, he can't be completely crazy on the surface.
No, I think they say that. The person you need to talk about serial killers is Barbie. When you talk to Barbie, she is a serial killer expert.
I love her stories. I just started reading her work. It's amazing.
Yeah, are you reading the
Venus Complex?
Thank you. Sorry, Bobby. Yes, she's wonderful, isn't it? And I love the way that's told.
I wrote her because I.
Hello.
Oh. Hello.
And the pubic hair was flying.
I know the English accent could be exciting, but please.
Okay, I'll calm down.
I'm going to blush when I meet you in Bazaar, you know that.
I'm glad no one can hear what's going on underneath my desk.
Thank God.
All right. We're back. I don't know what we were talking about, but we are.
Does it matter?
No.
No, not really. But we were talking about Nightbreed at one point in time. Have you seen the extended cut, the Cabal Cut?
I saw the very first cut they did, which was the really, really, really rough cut. And I've never seen a movie before in that kind of rough cut state. And it was shockingly bad. I can't remember which convention they showed it. But I was one of the few people that was still there at the end of what felt like 5 hours of film that they were showing.
It's a ringing endorsement for the.
No, but since then, please, don't cut me there. Since then, they've been touring around with the revised cut, which isn't a rough cut, but the footage that they found and they added in wasn't the same quality, and there was no Foley artists. So somebody would fire a gun and it would go like that, which isn't quite right. I haven't seen what's the name? The Scream Factory version yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So certainly the cut that I did see was such an infinite improvement on the movie that was released. The lead and stuff that you wouldn't really think about, the lead characters, Anne Bobby and anyway, the lead characters have time to establish themselves. So as an audience, you get time to like them, to empathize with them, which is so important to any storyline. And also, you like the creatures more. I hadn't realized how rushed the original Nightbreed felt, where they were trying to fit in all of this stuff. I know it was messed around terribly by the studios, but I'm very excited. I believe it's going to be out in the fall. I'm hoping there'll be a UK version as well, DVD, Blu-ray. I heard they were going to premiere it at Man's Chinese Theatre, but I don't know how much truth there is in that, but that would be fantastic too.
Yeah. Well, when it was released at the theater, and it was cut and edited to maybe a different movie than what was intended, was that how was that to deal with? I kind of disgraced myself on the opening night, actually, because it was a really strong book. The screenplay was even better. It was incredibly moving, the screenplay, because basically it's the Holocaust story.
of minorities being persecuted. And it just made you weep when you read the screenplay. It was so strong, so powerful. And that was the film that we thought we were making at Pinewood, with this massive budget at the time and huge set. And it was very, very exciting. And then I hadn't seen the performance of it until the opening night in Leicester Square in London. And they had a big party and they invited us to Tower Records. And they were handing out cocktails in martini glasses with light cheese painted like eyeballs in the bottom of them. And I had more than my fair share of them, so I was a little drunk by the time we got to see it. And then when the story came on and then it started to play, and it was so obvious that this wasn't the film that we'd been filming, that it had been messed around so much, I got really upset. So I left the theatre about halfway through, and when I came back, the movie was finishing and Clive was just coming down the stairs surrounded by journalists and media people, and he went, Si, what did you think? And I told him what I thought, which he didn't talk to me for about 10 years after that.
Really?
No, my big lesson I should have learned, and I should have known better, that you support the people you're with. But I was so upset that it wasn't the film I was hoping it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was so very disappointing, but very exciting to know that the Cabal Cut is going to be out there. And to be fair, it has a lot of fans around the world, even in its original state.
Yeah, it's I put up when I put it's kind of like a cult classic. And I think a lot of because you read the script and you read the book, so you're going to see it differently than someone who only saw the movie and didn't know what was cut out and what the original script might have been like. So you would see it as differently.
It's very difficult to see anything that you've worked on, be film, TV, or theatre, from an impartial viewpoint, because you know so much about it, you're invested so much in it, and you don't know what it's like to see it for the first time through fresh eyes.
Yeah.
You're seeing it through a perverted set of eyes that aren't honest, I think.
Yeah. This come up with some other guests. When you watch a movie that you've been in, do you see it as the film, or do you also see it as the experience that you had filming it?
When I watch Nightbreed,
or any movie you've been in.
Again, it's very difficult to watch it and see it. It brings back memories, but usually the first time you see it, it's such a shock and such a surprise to see what it looks like, because your memory of it is tiny little sections. We were just talking about what it's like to see a movie that you've been in and how you view it having been in it. It's exciting to see how all the special effects work and all the work that's been done afterwards and all the Foley, and to see it with a score. I was really surprised, actually. When I first saw Hellraiser, I was surprised because the filming of it seemed so chaotic. Because I was used to working in theatre and you'd have all these weeks rehearsal and... Can you hear that dog in the background? Sorry. To know that this kind of chaotic process could produce something that looked so polished and finished and wonderful. But that is the magic of cinema, I think.
Yeah.
I've never done anything where I've had, film-wise, where I've had any rehearsals. You kind of learn the lines and you turn up and you meet the actors and you do it. And it's always a shock and terrifying to start with until you kind of know what other people are doing.
You brought up...
I prefer the process in theatre where you have 3 weeks or 4 weeks to work with people and before you actually show it to any members of the public.
I would think when you're doing theater work that you've got an immediate connection with the crowd, with the audience, as opposed to when you're doing a film and it might come out months later. Yeah,
you know when stuff works, and also you can tell from the audience reaction if it's working, and you can kind of work on that and change it and cut it and move it around. So you have the ability to evolve with the piece. Whereas with film, you just have to trust that what's being done is going to work, and if it's not worked, the director will cut some of it out. I saw a terrible film called Life Force And
Yeah.
Is that with the space vampires?
That's right. And
Yeah.
the woman in it was naked, pretty much the whole film. But it had Peter Firth in it, and I've always been a great admirer of him as an actor from Equus, when he did Equus onwards. And there was one scene in it. Poor Peter Firth. He did this. I think this monster had appeared outside this cathedral, and he did this terrible, terrible hammy look of shock. And from that moment on, I thought, how can a director have allowed that shot from such a fine actor to stay in? You know, he must have been mortified when he saw that. And you're just in their hands. You know, once you've wrapped on it, you just have to trust that stuff like that will never appear.
Mm-hmm.
Is it more fulfilling as an actor too to have an emotional connection with people there? Do you have an emotional connection with the crowd when you're performing?
Yes, definitely. And you get the instant response. You know if an audience is being really, really pin quiet, that they're captivated completely. You can tell from screams and laughter what they're doing in a theatre, but you just can't do that in a film. The crew, Doug talks about the difference between a UK crew and an American crew, being that when he's made films over here in the UK, the attitude is the crew are all sitting back looking at you on your first day going, okay, show us what you can do, and just waiting for you to prove that you should be there. Whereas in the States, there's a really supportive atmosphere, and everybody's there for the greater good of the film, and it's a much happier environment to work in. Thankfully, sadly, I've never worked over in the States on a film, so I've never experienced that.
Yeah. Earlier when you were talking about, you'd go for the Fangoria magazines, and what were some of your favorite horror films?
My favourite horror film of all time, the one that scared me the most, was definitely Texas Chainsaw Massacre original. Mm-hmm. Because at the time, it was so groundbreaking and so kind of amateurly made, almost like a real-life film, that you weren't sure if you were watching a documentary or not. It just felt really real, and it really scared me. I remember being disappointed with, I probably shouldn't say this, but hey, what the hell, with The Exorcist, only because I wasn't 18 when it came out in the cinemas, and I looked 12 when I was 20, so I no way I could bluff my way in. So when I finally did see it, it had such a hype over here. I was expecting more, I think, from it. I used to love the Omen films when I was a kid. I think because I'd read the book. I used to love reading Stephen King when I was a kid as well. But a lot of his stuff didn't seem to translate to film very well.
What did you think of The Shining? We have a huge wall between different groups on The Shining was great and The Shining was not great from people who had read the books.
Yeah.
I would sit on the fence, to be honest. I think it's quite a slow movie. But it does build up. I mean, Jack Nicholson, who can fault him? Mm-hmm. It builds up the tensions in a very different way to your average horror movie. It has a reality to it, I think. You can believe the characters and you can believe the scenario. Mm-hmm. I find it a wee bit slow. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I found it very scary, but very iconic. So I would say both. I like it, and I dislike it.
Mm-hmm. What?
That's
yeah. Actually, most people either really love it or really hate it. My theory is most of the people that really don't like it are ones that had read the book before seeing the movie.
Right.
They love the book, and then the movie doesn't live up. And a lot of people love it maybe hadn't read the book or read it afterwards.
Yeah. I think Stephen King is such a great writer in getting your imagination flowing, and you just have these worlds in your head when you're reading him. And I do think they're very different once they get put onto the screen.
Yeah. I've always thought, besides because I am a big fan of The Shining, but I think the most successful Stephen King adaptations of film are his non-horror work. like Stand By Me and a
Uh-huh.
Redemption, and
Yes.
Green Mile.
That's true. That's very, very true. I wonder why is that though? I mean, he obviously writes characters very richly. You know who the people are. You really associate with them in both horror and non-horror that he writes. But it always used to mystify me that they wouldn't. Pet Sematary. I love reading that. I've got them all here in front of me somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why some don't. It's a funny old process making a movie, isn't it? That you have to same with theatre. To be honest, you get a lucky group of people together who are exactly the right group of people, and there's no science to it. You can have the best casting directors in the world, but there's no way of absolutely 100% knowing that what you're going to create is going to be successful. Quite often, it's a happy accident.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier about the composer of the Hellraiser theme is going to be at
Christopher Young.
Christopher Young, yeah. And you see, you're filming the movie, and then you see it. How much do you think that music really added to the atmosphere of Hellraiser?
Oh, tons. Clive's always talking about how important the sound is, even more so on a horror film, because it's that creates the tension and gives the audience the clues as to what's going to happen or not happen. It's just all about atmosphere. I think every film's about atmosphere, and the score is crucial to get right. Like I say, I think Christopher Young not only creates. I mean, he has this kind of music box going on. Oh, bloody dogs! Christopher Young creates this music box, which kind of which is intriguing, and kind of draws you in, and then has this kind of warm waltz type melody that goes through the piece, which again is just perfectly correct. And I always think of Hellraiser and Claire. I think Claire Higgins gets it. It's very film noir. It's almost like a 1940s film in some ways, and she's there with her red lipstick, and it's very stylish. And I think that was always very deliberate, and I think that comes out in the score as well.
Yeah. Did you was there more of a backstory for Butterball in either the first two films, and if not, did you ever think of one?
Clive talked about obviously the High Priest from Hell for the four of us. He told me I was the torturer of the group, so it would be I had a great big belt on with like a workman's belt, but had these beautiful instruments of torture that were made by there was a jeweler that they had on sets, and he created the puzzle box and also created these incredible tools for my torture collection, and also created the female's jewelry that goes through her neck. So yeah, it was my job to basically torture the people that we met as we were going through our worlds. Mm-hmm. That's all I really knew about him.
Have you ever thought of a backstory for him yourself, how he came to be?
No. It was a bit of a shock when at the end of number 2 that he kind of turned into this somebody else, basically.
Are you familiar with any of the comic book storylines with Hellraiser?
I'm not au fait with the new ones. I've got a lot of the old ones that they did back in the 80s, but I know that Clive's been doing a lot of stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah. It's something I'm not familiar with either, but I've seen some new people who have come to the Facebook page through the Hellraiser month here, and some of them are really big on them, so I'd be interested to check those out.
There's some amazing artwork that appears on Facebook occasionally that's just awesome. I know there's some very, very talented people out there.
Mm-hmm. A great Halloween pumpkin of Chatterer.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Whoever did that, wow.
Yeah. It's impressive.
They deserve a Cinnabon.
Right there.
Did you have a really good pumpkin pie after that?
No. I should have. Actually, a neighbor of mine asked for, because I had a few very large pumpkins, and asked afterwards can I take them because they have access to a farm and wanted to feed them to pigs. And when I described what was going to happen with the pumpkins, because Neil and I were going to do a video of smashing pumpkins with implements of destruction, and I tried to delicately say that, and probably should have thought better of it, but I was trying to figure out how I can say there will be no pumpkin to give to these animals.
Oh.
And that was the end of that.
That night too, because it was it was like 2 a.m. thinking you were pulled over, and then the I don't know, you don't care if I say this, do you? And the cop flashed the light in the back, and we had pumpkins, and
Yeah, giant. These were giant, bigger than big, like a beach ball.
I had my black duffel bag, and there was like a baseball bat, a sledgehammer, an old rusty hook.
I forgot about the hook.
And yeah, they didn't even ask anything. I was thinking, oh, and I think both wearing black hoodies, and
yes.
Like, where are you going? Denny's.
Which was true.
Yes, it was.
You did go to Denny's.
Sounds like I had a lucky escape.
Yes, it's been very, very fortunate. When we were in Salem for Halloween, I had white contacts on. That's my profile picture now. And they were so hard to get in and out, and I had all this makeup on that I was trying to get them out before I had to drive, and I couldn't. And so I thought, well, there's no one out. I'll just drive to our next destination, which I think was Denny's. And so there was no one on the road, but I'm kind of weaving back and forth and did get pulled over. Where are you heading? And at the time we were heading to McDonald's, so I could try to get them out because it was impossible to see. And he asked, "Are those your real eyes?" And I didn't know what to say. There's a police officer with my future in his hands. We've had some adventures.
Yeah, he even asked to see my ID on that time. That was very odd.
You look suspicious.
What? I'm a very normal-looking man.
I flew to the States. I had blue contact lenses at one point. I flew to the States and forgot I had them in. And when I woke up the next morning, I got one out, and then the other one had gone. And it had gone round the back of my eye.
Oh.
And I had a real panic attack. I thought, what am I going to do? Oh, my God, I'm in the States. This is going to cost me a fortune. I've got to go to the doctor. And I never wore contact lenses after that.
Were they odd
It's
blue or
still
just
there
the
now.
regular blue?
No, I've got brown eyes.
Oh.
They were complete vanity contact lenses.
Did you ever get it out, or is it just still floating around?
Yeah, no, I did.
Okay.
Eventually, I kind of kept working, and it kind of popped out.
Yeah.
It was good.
That's very good. Now, if people would like to get a hold of you, you have a website, simonbamford.com, and any social media sites you'd like to share?
I have at Simon Bamford is my Twitter account, and I've also got a Facebook account, which is Simon Bamford. I think I don't really know. I think so. Anyway, I mean, you can see there's pictures of Butterball on there and stuff. So,
Just don't expect him to ever write you back.
No.
You can observe him in his life and just appreciate that.
Yes. Nod, wink. Mum's the word, Annabelle.
Well, he's a busy man.
He is.
I am a busy man. Yeah.
He's got dogs.
Yes, I believe it's very apparent.
I've got dogs and kids theatre and films and oh gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds
It's
ideal when you say it like that.
And
That sounds like a pretty decent life.
And eat
Yes, I
Dogs and kids and making movies.
I shouldn't bemoan my lot, should I? One should appreciate what one has.
Exactly. And rampant pubic hair.
Yeah. Yeah. You look too young now, but has it started coming out your ears yet? It's really rank when it comes out your ears.
Actually, right in front of me, I have this long pair of tweezers that I've been using. This is a very nice story to pull out the nose hairs. But
Yeah.
I do not have as far as I know. Now I'm going to have to check the mirror, but I do not believe I have any ear hair yet.
It's very cruel turn of nature that it starts in the nose and then it sprouts from the ears and you lose it from your head? No, what's that all about? What part of evolution made that work? I don't know, but it's horrible. Yeah.
Maybe someday that'll be a fashion statement. People actually get like transplants to their ears.
No. Maybe they could try. I was thinking it would never work as a fashion statement because fashion statements always come from the young, and the young, like you say, they'd have to stick it in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's interesting with fashion statements, isn't it? Where the new ones come from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are doing some more retro things. So maybe that would be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
The movement. You should start it. Tell your kids. Have them start walking around. This is part of their exercises as young children.
Yeah, it kind of fits in with everything I did when I was like teenaging. You know, I was a terrible rebel, so I was very rebellious. So it would be a good way of rebelling. Except you're rebelling against the people that are older than you, and you're rebelling against society. So what you're doing by putting nasal hair and ear hair in is that you're actually saying. Them. I suppose you could be mocking them. That would work. Yeah, that would work.
Mm-hmm. This is just very cruel now.
Yeah. You've got it to calm, Neil. You've got it to calm.
That's why Butterball had no ears. He was just sick of the ear hair.
He probably started there. You know, he plucked all the hair out of his ears, and then he realised it was never going to stop, so he cut them off.
Exactly.
It's also why he's got no nose. He's probably cut his nose off.
Maybe that was his Hellraiser punishment.
Maybe.
Vanity. Maybe
I always decided that he did those things to himself. Maybe his own vanity was why he sewed his eyes up as well. He just couldn't bear looking in the mirror anymore.
No, I've always felt. I don't know if it's true. In my opinion, when I watch a movie, I always felt that your character is a little bit of like dark comedy in the movie, just the way he looks, and I do get a kick out that when the sunglasses come off, that his eyes are sewn shut. You know, do you see any of that in there? That character was just a little bit of I don't want to say comic relief, but just a little bit of like black comedy.
Very probably written that way, and knowing me and knowing Clive, and Clive sees me, and I've always been the comic of the four of us, I think, and I'm the one that takes it least seriously. Mm-hmm. So yeah, probably. I'd never really thought about it until you mentioned it, but yeah, probably true. Probably true. We did talk. We played with the idea of doing a Cenobite rap when we were making Hellraiser 2. So,
do you have any lines from that you can share with the masses?
No, ask Doug. If you ever get to interview Doug, he's pretty good. He was very good at rapping. I wasn't that good.
That's amazing. The things you learn. Doug raps.
Yeah.
He's got a hearse.
Mm-hmm.
And he's blended in with the crowd in his decorating endeavors.
He's a very cool man.
Yeah, we did talk to him briefly in Atlantic City in December, so we're looking forward to seeing him again.
Yes, unfortunately, we became too intoxicated with John Duggan to go back.
No, I think
to the table.
We became too intoxicated. You could have left it there.
Yeah.
Full stop. Yeah, me too.
Well, now I'm definitely happy to be meeting you
we should have martinis. Let's do
martinis. We go. Martinis and jelly babies happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm
have a jelly flavored jelly baby flavored martini.
I believe
strawberry or blackcurrant. Strawberry, but yeah, the red colors.
I went to Ireland as a kid. I was 18, and I was very. I won't say I was a super good kid, but I didn't drink or anything like that, and it was my first time drinking. And I had it was like a beer bottle shape. And it was black currant flavored. And I didn't know when to stop. So I drank and drank and drank and drank. I was brutally sick for days. We were doing a bus. We didn't have a car for rent. We took a bus everywhere. And no matter where I sat in that bus, the sun was on me. And I didn't want to look at black currant. No black currant, nothing. I don't know if I could eat it now. Maybe.
I have a similar story with sherry. Do you have sherry over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of my first parties I went to when I was about 16, 17, it said everyone was going to take a bottle. So I raided my parents' liquor cupboard, and they got this homemade sherry, and nobody else would drink it. So I sat quietly and drank the lot, and I was ill forever, it seemed. And I've never been able to drink sherry since. So the blackcurrant is Alco Pops. They're very big over here. Do they have Alco Pops over there?
What is it?
Alco Pops. Basically, it's alcohol that tastes like 7-Up or fruit juice. It doesn't taste like alcohol at all. Like you say, it's wrong because it's directly marketed at teenagers who don't like the taste of alcohol. So it's marketed at a youth market. So it's very wrong.
Yeah, mine. My label had 2 little berries on it, and they had angry faces. They were little cartoons.
I know the one. Yeah, I know.
It worked. I was sold.
It's a very light way of getting drinks. Very popular in the summer because it's refreshing.
We do have things like that.
Yeah, they have the Four Loko, and knock on wood.
Oh, there's alcoholic whipped cream. Do you have that?
No,
it's not good.
It sounds amazing.
There's chocolate, caramel, I think vanilla, and I don't know if it's cherry.
We have flavored vodkas, so you get Mars bar flavored vodka and Bounty flavored vodka, all the chocolate bar vodkas.
We have generic chocolate vodkas, but I have key lime pie vodka right now. Not in my hand, but it's in my home.
Wow! Will you bring some of that to Atlantic City?
Yeah.
Last time we had like a carload of alcohol with.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about Atlantic City is I can drive, so I can take a cooler. So if you guys need anything, let me know.
I'd love to try a key lime pie flavored vodka. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we should.
I've got a very sweet tooth.
We should.
Can you develop a Cinnabon flavored vodka? Just kind of bringing this whole thing round full circle.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
I was thinking maybe we could ask the people out there listening right now to think of Hellraiser-themed cocktails, and perhaps we could make them while we're there.
Oh, yeah. That sounds great. Mm-hmm. That sounds great.
I like this idea. And we'll give them some type of prize.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
You will not believe there is a Cinnabon vodka.
Really?
It's actually the brand. Pinnacle. That's my key lime pie brand. Mm-hmm. Pinnacle. Cinnabon vodka. That is coming to Atlantic City.
Brilliant. We have such tastes. You have such tastes to show us.
Excellent. I'm looking, and knock on wood, I've actually never had a hangover or been sick from drinking.
Oh, well, we could do something about that.
It's unbelievable because he'd been to a convention and was messaging me. And he was clearly ridiculously drunk. He would message me at random, and one of the things was putting money into a pirate's G-string. I believe there was some kissing involved with someone whose maybe name should not be mentioned. If you want to reveal that, Neil, that's all you.
Yeah. Well, Lawrence R. Harvey. He's a good man. He's a good man.
Lawrence Harvey from Human Centipede 2. It was I don't know the full details. I've never asked.
The video is out there. People can watch it. I don't know if Lawrence knows that it's out there.
My mind.
What rating?
I have had videos knocked off YouTube, not that one, but yeah.
Oh my god.
So yeah, it'll be a good time in Atlantic City.
Neil can get wasted and just not get sick. It's a miracle. It's some gene in him somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've met people like that before. It's very unfair.
Yeah, when we first started hanging out, she'd get kind of mad.
Sadly, it's
Atlantic City though.
Mm-hmm. No, you didn't. You did very well.
No hangovers, no headaches.
See, yes. No, I'm a good.
Because I continued it throughout the day. That's the
that's the key. You just never stop. Exactly. But yeah, see, I'm a good influence on you.
Sadly, it's another one of those things that you kind of gets worse as you get older. And these days, if I get really drunk, I'll have a hangover that lasts 3 or 4 days. It's terrible. So I have to cut back, and which is good. My doctor would be pleased with me, but I'm a little bit more careful about how much I drink.
All right.
It's no fun.
We'll change all that in a few weeks.
Yeah, you can splurge once in a while. Yeah. You probably get drunk faster.
Yeah, I'm sure you do because you're so dehydrated from the flights anyway. But yeah.
It sounds perfect.
Well, it's really been it's been a great time talking to you.
And to you. It's been great fun. Thank you both very much.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you've been here to talk about all of these amazing things.
Mm-hmm. And, I'm sure we will talk to you again at some point.
Yeah,
Well, we'll see you in about a month.
Yeah, absolutely. See you at Bazaar.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this has been week 2 of Hellraiser month here at Without Your Head, and so far so good. It's been good times. All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Bamford, and we will talk to you soon.
You're very welcome, Mr. Jones and Miss Lecter.
Hey, this is Tim Barn from Braindead. You're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.